Well, you all may have seen topiaries in public gardens, and if you'll recall, we had a horse topiary in our children's garden this year. But what you may not know is they're a great way to decorate indoors, and this time of year when we're moving plants indoors is a great time to check out topiaries. Well, first off, you can go out and purchase one, and you'll notice this is a very simple one. It's just an ivy that is trained around a hoop. Now, you also may have noticed if you've been out shopping for them that they can get to be kind of expensive already made up. So you can actually purchase a frame for these, and this is the easiest way to start out making a topiary is with a frame. Now, if you look here, this just has a wire hoop underneath, and then the ivy is trained around it. Now you can get a little bit more elaborate with your frames, and here we have a candelabra. You can see the bottom part, this is what goes into the pot, and then it's just wound here, and then we've got our 4 candle holders here, and this would be very nice to use in Christmas decorating with some ivy twined around it. But even the frames can get to be a little bit expensive if you want to make very many of them. So to combat that, you can actually make your own frames, and it's really pretty easy. The nice thing about it is that a simple frame is the best design to have with a topiary, because once it's covered with an ivy or some other kind of plant, the simpler the frame, the better your design's going to come out. If it's a very complicated thing, it gets masked by all of the foliage. Something like this heart, which is really pretty easy to make, makes a great frame. Now this is one that I just did, and it's really a very simple process. Now the things that you'll need to make a frame are, first off, you need some pretty thick wire. This is a 10 to 12 gauge wire, so it is thick, and this is actually ground wire. I went in looking for it at a hardware store and got a spool of copper ground wire, and this is going to work quite well. You need just a little bit of wire to tie it together, and again, I've just used copper wire. You could use any other kind of metal that would easily bend for you. And then you'll need wire cutters and needle nose and regular pliers. Now to make the heart, if you want a certain size of heart, what you can do is just go ahead and draw that out on a piece of paper if you know the size that you want. Next, what you'll want to do is take a piece of string here, and first off, if you know the pot that you're going to put it in, measure the depth of the pot, and then come here and just put your string around your design like this, and this is how we're going to measure off just exactly how much wire we need to cut for our design. So now once I've got this all measured out here, and again remembering to come back down for the length of the pot, I'll go ahead and cut that. And then that's the length of wire that I need to cut off my spool. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Now if you can get wire that is not on a spool but just in a straight length, that is a little bit easier, because once it's on the spool, you do have to kind of straighten that out to be able to work with it again to make it into the design that you want. Now here, okay, I've got the length that I want, so I'll go ahead and cut that off. Now, to find the middle, all I have to do is take my string here and bend it in half, and then I'll just run it down until I have the middle. Now to make the heart, first what I need to do is bend that in the middle here. Pretty much in a U shape. Now here comes the fun part. This is a great trick. I use a flower pot that has a circle that is about the same size as the top of my heart shape here. So probably midway up, we're going to be just the right size. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and take 1/2 of my wire now and bend it around the pot until I come down close to the bottom. Now you can bend it a little further and then unbend it later if you need to. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here, and it makes a very nice curve for my heart. Okay, now I can just kind of work with this and flatten it out a bit and come down to the bottom. Now down at the bottom, what I want to do is I'm going to take my pliers here and just bend these so they're facing straight down and parallel here at the base of my heart. Okay. Now once I've got that done, now all I need to do is tie the base with some wire. So I'll cut off a length of wire. And just start by making a bend in my wire and placing it around the heart right at the bottom point here. And then I'll wind that around and you'll see how I'm catching that one end and wrapping that in. Now when I get down here, then what I want to do is take both ends and just wrap them together. And we'll use our pliers and get that tight. And kind of adjust that. Now, we'll cut off the excess wire here. And at the base of this, to give it a little bit more support when I stick it into the pot, I'm going to turn the bottom up just a little bit so it goes out to the side like this. And that way it'll have a little bit more support standing up. Well, now that I've got my frame made, the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and plant our topiary. So I'm going to use this one that's a little bit larger because my pot is larger, and just stick this in our pot. And then we're going to look at a plant to put in here. Now, as you can see, our topiary that's already made is made out of an ivy, and ivies work very well for this. And if you look over here, we have several different types of ivies that all work very well for topiaries. We've got one that's like a needlepoint ivy, we've got variegated, and then we have a rounder leaf here, and these all work very well. Pretty much any kind of trailing plant, like a string of hearts or a creeping fig, anything like that that's a trailing plant will work very well for these one-dimensional topiary frames. Now, you may have seen topiaries made out of herbs such as rosemary and things like that, and in a globe or a Christmas tree or something like that. And if you're looking to make a topiary such as that, when you go out to choose your herbs, you need to find herbs that are just about a year old and not woody. If you look at this rosemary here, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, rosemary, as it grows, it gets woody. And if you look in the stem here, you'll see how it's already turned woody. And it gets kind of hard to bend very much. See here in the middle, this is not very flexible. But if you look up here at the top, where the growth is new, it's very flexible, and you can do anything you want with this. You can tie it to the frame, and then it will actually become woody after it's been formed in the way that you want it. So this is actually a little bit large of a plant to train on a topiary. You would want it shorter with most of the growth in this nice flexible stage. Well, what we're going to use today for this topiary is an ivy, and I've got one here that is going to work very well. And the other thing that is nice if you want a kind of an instant effect is to get some long trailers on this. I've got 2 long ones that can go up around here. So this is going to be almost an instant topiary. So I'll just take this out of its pot and plant it here. At the base of our frame. And then all I need to do is just wind the vine around. Now, if you need to, you can use something like twist ties or florist wire. If you use the green coated wire, it works really well because it kind of blends in with the plant a lot better. But with the ivies, you really don't even need to do anything like that because they just twist around here very nicely. You'll see. We just twist them, and now we have a heart. Now we'll just watch this grow. We might clip off some of these bottom ones here that aren't on the frame, and we'll let this go ahead and fill in. Now over here we've got one that's already filled in, and it just needs a little bit of trimming to it, and you'll notice how it's kind of looking a little woolly. We've got some coming out to the side now. We can do 2 things. We can either wind this back in like this and continue winding around, and we can also just trim these out, and that will help it bush out a little bit more. So if you just do a combination of winding and then a little bit of trimming out, then you can keep your topiary looking very nice. So you might want to try this winter and get some new decorations for your home.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.